So when you say they are committing fraud, they are creating these daycare centers, they're embezzling millions, defrauding millions of dollars. Who are they?
The government in Minnesota, the people at the Capitol, because they're the ones writing the checks, they know that that fraud is taking place because they have all of the violations. They have all the many times where a lot of these daycares are ran by the same person. And then 89% of the population that is committing the fraud is Somalians.
In terms of fraud, could you walk us through the flow of money step by step in terms of who applies, who pays the money, who is behind that payment, who audits this, and who investigates it?
So with the fraud, all the checks are being written from the Capitol, people inside of the Capitol of Minnesota. And the way they get this money, some of it's federal money, it's also state money. And inside of departments like the Home and Health Services, the HHS, they give funding for things like childcare. And so what happens is Tim Walz, for instance, he's openly bragged about expanding daycare inside of Minnesota. He said, like, we're going to give them raises back in 2023. And then even in the debate with JD Vance, he was talking about how great it was of their childcare system inside Minnesota. The Minnesota government is so incompetent that multiple people will have violations or they'll have history of doing crime, but they'll still let them open up a daycare and then they'll receive this federal money. And so there's entire whistleblowers who have created all these charts and everything about this one man having this one home healthcare business. He also has a daycare. He has 6 violations and he's still getting millions of dollars. I believe it's all because the people are afraid to be called an Islamophobic or racist.
So basically, the state sets up a fund, and some of that's from state money, some of it's from federal government money.
Mm-hmm.
The fund says we're going to give money to people who open up daycares.
On welfare purposes.
On welfare purposes. That enables anybody to apply for this, get federal funding with basically saying, hey, we have X amount of students here, X amount of kids are coming in. They give that in. And then what's the audit process like to make sure that's legitimate?
Yeah, that's the problem. And that's why the fraud's been able to go on for so long. Nobody really knows exactly how that audit process has been working because they've been enabling fraud for so long. Tim Walz has openly said that we've been fighting fraud since 2019. Okay, well, Graham, if you're running a business and you have millions and billions of dollars being funneled to places, how long do you think it would take for you to cut off the funding?
How are you fighting fraud for 6 years?
Exactly.
Like, shouldn't the fight end
He's
at some point?
been enabling the fraud to happen. And that's why what I did was such a compelling piece of content, because it's showing that they're enabling this fraud to happen and nobody's even checking up. And these daycares can't even give you a brochure to enroll a child.
Do you think that there's anything going on between the government and the people that own these daycares? Is there any money that's being funneled back into the government, or are these Somalians just becoming rich?
100%, because Ilhan Omar, congresswoman from Minnesota, well, she's from Somalia. She was then brought here to the United States. Her net worth went from negative to allegedly $30 million.
So when you went into this, did you expect this to be more so just government waste, or did you expect full-blown fraud?
I expected a little bit of both. Like, I remember David saying, like, we're going to go to the daycares. And so in the first clip of the video, you'll see me go to the daycare center. I'm like, all right, let's go in. And I go to open the door and it's locked. But their sign says open 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. right above me. And I'm like, what's going on? All the windows are blacked out, but yet they received millions of dollars this year.
Now, what do you say to people who say, well, the door should be locked because we want to protect the students. We want to make sure that they're not like just going to open the door and run off. And we want to protect people like observing inside the windows. And that's why it's important to have privacy.
Yeah, CNN asked me that same question. I said, okay, well, fair point. Then how come when I call that phone number, nobody answers? And how come when I ring the doorbell and ask for a brochure, they can't give me any paperwork to enroll a child? So yeah, you maybe lock the door, go ahead and do that, but you should be able to answer a simple question. When I ask, how do I enroll my son Joey into daycare? How do I do it? They can't even answer it.
What was the most shameless thing that you saw in person?
Just the fact that they couldn't give me any responses. They're receiving millions of dollars and I can't even get a brochure to enroll an imaginary son Joey into daycare.
Did they appear to have any guilt when you spoke to them, or did they seem entitled and just everything was like twisted?
Very much entitlement. They treated me like I was like scum to them. They called the police on me. They kicked me out of their buildings, and I was simply asking for rates and for brochures to enroll a child in daycare and for healthcare. And they said I was doing some sort of propaganda piece. And this isn't about the race. However, when 89% of that population is committing fraud, That's just a fact. It doesn't make you a racist for talking about fraud.
Now, what about the counter arguments I saw that people would be more closed off talking to you when you show up with a camera or you pull up in like some SUV and they don't know who you are versus just like some lady just walking up, knocking on the door?
A good counterclaim would do that be, well, just answer the question so there's no confusion. I'm not coming across hostile. I'm just asking you the simple question. And in a lot of cases, for instance, the one lady who I interviewed, I tried to ask for a brochure. Everyone else was in the car. I went up by myself. David was far away. She had all the opportunities in the world to just simply answer some questions.
Have you heard any counter arguments to your video that gave you any pause or that maybe you thought, hey, that's actually a good point?
No,
You haven't had anybody reach out to you saying that I've actually, had a kid at this childcare?
no.
I would imagine to
The
diffuse
mainstream
the
media has
situation.
tried to come after me so much to the point where they're defending fraud now. One of the daycares I went to, they wouldn't open the door. And then a few days later, since I released my video, CBS then went to the daycare. And I don't doubt that there are some children inside these daycares because you'd be super stupid to be running these and not at least have a few kids in there. So this one daycare is licensed for 40 children. CBS goes there. The guy can barely speak English, and they do this hit piece on me. And they're like, we're an operating daycare. We have 4 children here. Okay, well, they're licensed for 40, and you're receiving millions of dollars. Each one of those children are worth $250,000 a year for government funding.
So, how much were these centers making and how much were people taking home from that?
The largest one was $3.45 million. And then on the low, it'd be around 1.2 million.
So, one thing I'm really curious about the landlords of these buildings, do they know what's going on? Do you think they're in on it? Are they charging market rates for these places? Who owns the buildings that these people are leasing?
Yeah, I haven't really looked into that, but I'm sure they're happy to be receiving a check every single month.
Yeah. Because I got to say, so when I looked into a lot of Los Angeles and California, it seems as though people will open up these like homeless centers, but they'll pay these absurd amounts in rent.
Mhm.
And the landlords allegedly go in with the mindset of like, hey, we're going to charge either a lot of money or we know these people and we could kick back some money to the owner of this building. That could be something to look into that I was curious about.
Yeah, I think if you're a landlord, you're probably just happy to have somebody inside your building and you know they're getting money from the government, so you know they're going to pay every single month. So if I was a landlord, I'd probably rent to them too. Just smart business.
One thing I'm really curious about, you mentioned Ilhan Omar is now worth $30 million, and when she went into office, she was actually in debt with a negative net worth. Can you just go in and see where her money is coming from?
No, I don't think we can, but I think they have to make it public. I think they have to make it public what their net worth is, congressmen and congresswomen.
They have to provide
They
a
have to
list
provide
of
something.
assets. The IRS would probably be the only one that would know where the money is coming from.
Because I think they only receive $175,000 a year with their salary from Congress.
It seems like, at least for the population, not necessarily for the Congress people, it would be bipartisan to mandate if you're in office, you show your net worth when you join office, and then you show all of your tax returns or where your money is coming from while you serve. I feel like that would be every normal person that isn't in government would agree on that. But obviously, any senator or congressperson, like left or right, would probably not vote for that.
Yeah, I think it's hard because it's like, how do you say like, oh, they can trade stocks, but we can't, for instance? But when they're inside Congress, so it's like maybe if that's something that the government should look into, like, okay, if you're going to become a congressman or congresswoman for these 4 years, your main focus is just to serve the American people and not to be having outside interest to boost your net worth. Because we can't just say like, hey, no, you can't invest or you're only going to have a 401k. Because if you see an opportunity, you should be able to invest as
Right.
well. But to have exponential returns like Nancy Pelosi or Elon Omar, that's just very suspicious.
Or at least transparency, like where is Ilhan Omar's money coming from? Like if
Yes.
we were able to just see that she was collecting massive wire transfers from Leering, center, then we'd be able to prove something.
Yeah, I think it would give a lot more people more transparency and then also a lot more trust.
Why was Doge not able to do this?
What I just did was kind of more of a decentralized Doge effort in a way where people could just go ahead and see it. And I think Doge, because they're with the government, I bet they'd have a harder time to kind of go out and produce something like this. And I think that's why you see Elon Musk giving me so much support right now, because what I'm doing was kind of like the effort of Doge, but to a decentralized way where people can see it. Because Doge, they have all the contracts and they went and they did cut a lot of the funding and they did get down to a lot of what was happening. But they saw so much pushback from the public and from the left that they weren't able to go about and make all the changes that they wish they could.
What rules are out there to prevent abuse?
I don't exactly know what rules they have for abuse, but if Elon Musk can't figure it out, it just shows how many guardrails there are.
If you were to then solve this issue, what do you think would be the best solution to prevent something like this from happening?
And what would a paper trail look like?
Yeah, I think now, because of the video, now all of these companies have to prove that they are legit businesses before they receive their funding. So all their payments are frozen right now in Minnesota. So if Minnesota actually cared about stopping the fraud, like Tim Walz has been saying for 6 years, what I would have done is I would have done surprise visits, and I would have not notified them when I'm coming, but more so done a surprise visit and say, hey, we're government officials. We just want to see how your business is operating. Okay, if you're licensed for 40 children and you have 35 kids here, perfect. But if you're licensed for 40 children and you have 4 kids here and we're giving you $1 million, we should probably look into this and figure out why this is happening.
It seems like it would be very easy to solve on a high level without even doing that by just looking how many centers are operating, how many children do they say are within those schools, and how many children exist in the area. And if you see, hey, there's 3,000 children in this area, but their capacity is 40,000 that we're paying for, and then maybe that's a red flag.
And if you drive around Minneapolis, you'll notice, if you start paying attention, you'll notice, wait, why does that industrialized building have a child care clinic? Or why is there an adult daycare right here? And why is there Somali daycare right here? Like legit, like why is there African refugee immigration processes? Or why is there Eritrean services? Like all this weird stuff. What's the need for all that? Us three, we all operate a business, whether it be a YouTube channel or selling coffee, selling t-shirts. We have to work and profit. These guys don't have to even conceptualize the idea of turning a profit because they're receiving all this money. And so it's not fair to the hardworking American who is trying to provide for their family, go to work, and then pay normal daycare rates.
So is this just Minnesota, or is it like we're driving around in Vegas and I see a daycare? Is it like, is there a chance, hey, it's everywhere throughout the United States?
Fraud is everywhere in the United States. And now you're seeing all these other people go to these daycares because a lot of them receive money on welfare purposes. And so, all that information is public. And so you can go ahead and find that information. And if you're suspicious of a local daycare in your area, you could go get the information, or you could just simply go and ask like, hey, can I enroll a child in the daycare here? And see it for yourself. But I don't want everyone to start going to daycares and saying, where are the children?
Yeah.
I think that would be bad.
I started seeing a lot of copycats now going and doing this.
And so what's hard about that is I actually did my due diligence when I went and made my video. You don't want to see just a bunch of people hopping up to daycares and saying, where are the children? People also have the right to just simply ask the question. You have houses in Washington State that are legit houses that are licensed for adult daycares or for childcares inside of neighborhoods that you wouldn't even know.
See, what I worry about when it comes to copycats is that you have most people who go in with good intentions, who say, hey, I see this upsets me, I want to help. And then you get people who just take it too far. And that's all it takes is you get one person who just starts like absolutely harassing somebody. Maybe it's a legitimate daycare, takes it too far, and it kind of ruins it for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, people can do what they want. My job is to do my job. The way I carry about myself is in a way that I can feel good about sleeping at night. If somebody wants to go harass a daycare, we can't stop them from doing it, and it's bad on them for doing it. They should do their due diligence and figure out if it's a fraudulent daycare or not before they show up.
So we have a few videos that I found online that basically claim that everything you were saying was fraudulent. So I want to get your response to these viral videos.
Yes, I'm ready.
So most of our clients, not most of our clients, all of our clients is after school hours. So schools, earliest dismissal would be 2:15 to 2:30ish, and the latest dismissal would be up to like 4:30ish, 4:40ish. So that's when our kids come to us. We don't have anyone in the morning.
So that man, while he's outside saying that, the commissioner of children at the same time is on a live stream saying that they closed that daycare a week ago. He's lying. The commissioner of children was literally on a live stream at that same moment saying they closed that child care center a week ago. I filmed my video December 16th. And so after I had filmed my video, they then had shut down that daycare. And while he's talking about that, the lady's literally on a live stream saying they closed down the daycare. They're busing in children. And then that same guy is in video partying with the mayor when the mayor got elected.
Okay, so I saw that video as well, and I was actually going to get your reaction to that. So you're saying that this specific individual is somehow related to the mayor?
Yes.
And what's that relationship look like?
Yeah, he's in the background of the mayor winning the election, and they're all dancing. And that guy's allegedly the manager, and his parents are the owners.
So did you go to the Quality Leering Center during hours where kids should be present?
So I went there on December 16th. Their operation hours said from 12 to 10 p.m. However, that's actually illegal to be operating a daycare at that time from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. And there's actually are restrictions in how at the certain hours where they do need to be operating. But the purpose was not to just barge into a daycare. The purpose was to show $1.9 million is going there. It's licensed for 99 children. And there's one door, the door's all blacked out. The sign's spelled wrong. You can't even call the phone number and have anyone respond. There's not a reception for you to be received at. It's a fraudulent daycare.
So what about this video then?
This is ABC Learning Center in Minneapolis.
They have to learn ABC and numbers.
Director Ahmed Hassan gave WCCO a tour after finding his daycare in the national spotlight.
All right, we've arrived to ABC Learning Center.
In a now viral video, right-wing YouTuber Nick Shirley claims nearly a dozen daycare centers in Minnesota are taking public funds but not providing a service. He says ABC Learning Center is one of them, knocking on the door in mid-December.
I would like to check a child in the daycare.
Hassan says his employee didn't respond because Shirley was in a group of about 8 people, and his staff were concerned about recent ICE activity. Is this daycare committing fraud?
No, we're not committing fraud.
Hassan showed us security footage from the same day Shirley was here. According to the timestamps in the videos, this woman takes a young child into the center at around 9 a.m. that day, about 3 hours before Shirley arrives at the door closer to the street. Within the hour after Shirley leaves, a woman arrives at the other door with a stroller. A larger family heads inside a few hours later. Tuesday afternoon, WCCO found at least a dozen children at ABC Learning Center, which is licensed with the state. Records show Minnesota officials last visited the daycare in November, noting some corrected and ongoing violations related to day-to-day operations, but no record of fraud.
So you're seeing the attack on me by them calling me a right-wing YouTuber, MAGA YouTuber, conservative. The mainstream media is extremely scared because I got more views than them on one video than they get all year. Their claim that they are a legit business, well, obviously they're not going to admit that they're a fraudulent business to the local news. They're receiving millions of dollars. What's the purpose of receiving all these dollars if you have, even if it's 12 children compared to the 40 that they're supposed to have? And why are all their windows blocked out? Why are they so scared to show people what they're doing behind doors? So yeah, maybe. Actually, they're a fraudulent business. So what's the purpose of having a daycare where you can't even show the public?
Did you get any valid criticisms though from your video? Anything that you thought like, okay, this might actually make sense?
No.
Do you think
What do you guys think? Give me your opinion.
I think the only argument that I could see a little bit is that you are showing up to daycares probably in a group of people with cameras, lighting equipment, stuff that generally causes a disturbance. And so if you're trying to enter, they obviously might be more apprehensive to let you in and fill out a document, be in a room maybe with kids.
Well, if they're operating legally, why would they have any worries?
I wouldn't open up if I were a business, in fairness, if you come in with cameras and I feel like there's no benefit for me to do this. If you're showing up trying to record, you don't know the manner of which the content's going to be used. It's inside a private business. I get that. I think if you were to show up as like some modest looking lady with a child with one of those secret recorders on glasses, I think that would go over differently.
So I showed up with meta glasses and a GoPro. I didn't have lighting equipment. I didn't have a big, massive camera. A lot of times I even had my GoPro just inside my pocket and I was just using the meta glasses. And the security, because of how hostile, and I priorly jumped in June by Somalians, it was necessary to have security in the car.
Do you think there's something higher up in like running these? Because I'll give you an example. When I went to Paris, you see by the Eiffel Tower, like everyone's selling little like trinkets and stuff like this.
Yeah, they've ruined the Eiffel Tower.
The police come and they all like pick them up really quickly and they run off. And then as I was walking around, I see some guys on like walkie-talkies and stuff like this. If a police comes on, they whisper something and everyone kind of bolts. And I was looking into this thinking like, okay, how much money are they actually making doing this sort of business? Like, why sell this? I didn't realize, this is also just, again, what I'm just reading online, is that supposedly a lot of the people are trafficked in and they're basically slaves to sell these trinkets, and if they don't do that, they're threatened, or they're, they could be beaten up, or certain things like this. So they're kind of forced to do these things. Do you think that could be a possibility that this is a much bigger operation than just individuals doing this? That maybe there's like a higher power or somebody controlling all of these, and the money just funnels up to one person?
It's a massive operation. That's why it's been able to happen for so long. And that's why you see Minnesota panhandling to the Somalian population, who's a small percentage of the population of Minnesota, to the point where they even said that the original Minnesota flag was bad and switched it to a flag that resembles the Somalian flag. And so within these communities, when this is just a simple effects of mass migration, a lot of people do come in. And for instance, in Paris, they're all working inside those networks at the Eiffel Tower. I've been there myself. They're all inside the WhatsApp group chats. They're all coordinating. They're all taking my photo and they're sending it off to everybody. But in the case of what's happening in Minnesota is you have all these people living inside of the same communities. You have all of these men with 4 wives who are able to then use these women to go out and do their dirty work for them while they stay inside the office.
How do you think they pass the inspections every 6 months?
Yeah, a lot of them don't. For instance, the Quality Learning Center had multiple violations, upwards of 10 violations, but they're still able to give them the money. That's why this is such a big problem. And this is why they should stop all the funding to these daycares, because I don't doubt that there are some that are bringing in children. For instance, that ABC one, good for them for having 12 children in on that day when the news came by and they let them know beforehand that they were coming. Good for them for doing that, right? And another counterclaim they came at me with was, well, you filmed it during winter break. No, I actually didn't. I filmed it on December 16th. So school and people were not on break yet. And now you guys are bringing in kids during winter break. Like, their claims have been completely debunked just by common sense.
Did any of them show you documentation showing that they were legitimate?
No, that's the problem. They couldn't
None of
answer
them.
a single question. I gave them plenty of opportunities to say, where are the children? Where are the children at?
How many did you visit?
I think we've visited around 7 or so.
It would be interesting because you're working with this guy who does all of this research. If he could find one that is operating as it should, and then you can go there and see how different the experience is compared to these fraudulent ones.
Yeah, it's been funny to see people on the internet. They're like, all right, Nick, Shirley, this is actually how daycare works. You see this? I'm going to click this button. I'm going to go in. I'm going to go talk to the receptionist, and then I'm going to go grab my child. Those other businesses, those Somali-ran businesses, those aren't real businesses. That's not how a daycare works.
Did you see the other fraud that's going on now in Minnesota as well with the assisted living facilities?
Yeah, so there are all these welfare programs. So the daycare, it's tied into that fraud. The home health care, that's tied into that fraud. The assisted living tied into that fraud. The transportation vehicles, that's all tied into the fraud. The translators at the hospitals, which no one even knows about, that's tied into the fraud.
Who reached out to you from the video?
Everybody. Like, I can't even respond to somebody then get back to the text message after, because it's 10 people deep within 5 minutes. But on the internet, JD Vance, he republished the video. Elon Musk, the Attorney General of the United States, the Director of the FBI, so many people. Think about that. That's the richest man in the world, the second most powerful man in the world, the Attorney General of the United States, and the Director of the FBI. They all had to come out and talk about that video.
Did the governor of Minnesota reach out to you?
No, he actually blamed the fraud on Trump.
And what did he say Trump did?
He said, well, Trump keeps letting fraudsters out of prison, and he blamed and deflected everything. He actually called me a white supremacist. He called anybody who's speaking out against the fraud white supremacist.
And what's your response to that?
I'm not. And fraud is fraud. And Tim Waltz,
But here's the thing. That's exactly what a white supremacist would say.
Yeah.
well,
Just like the daycares would say, well, we're not fraud. You would say, well, I'm not.
well, I'm not a white supremacist, all right? Tim Waltz, he is so scared to be called a racist and for speaking facts that he's allowed billions of dollars to be sent overseas and fund terrorists like the Al-Shabaab. So Tim Waltz is a coward.
And what's the benefit to Tim Waltz?
The benefit to Tim Waltz, he gets votes. When you have 100,000 people that will all go and vote for you, that's a huge percentage of the people that will vote. And this happens in Europe as well. And this is why you're seeing the rise of Islam inside of these countries like the UK. And that's why you see the Labour Party in the UK, for instance, they're so powerful. And you're seeing so many Muslims be elected in Europe because they come into the country, they then go to their mosque. And then when a politician needs the votes, he'll go to the mosque where they have 1,000 people inside the community. Well, we're going to do what you guys want. We're going to make sure you guys are protected, which they already are, especially in the United States. We have the Constitution. So, but in these other places, then when it comes time to vote, the people that run the mosque will then take everyone and go vote. And in Minnesota right now, you can vouch for 8 people when you go and vote.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, so one person can vouch for 8 people.
And how do you prove that you've been vouched for?
Yeah, so if you're living inside of the same community or I believe like organization, you can then vouch for the other 8 people if you can provide that, show their documentation or that just their license. And you don't need to be a legal citizen to receive a license in the United States in a lot of states.